Hey everybody, welcome to the Bret Lueder Show. I have a super interesting gentleman with me by the name of Shahrokh Zadeh. Shahrokh Zadeh is the pioneer of a new branch of science called mysteryology. We're going to find out about that today. He delves into some of the mysteries of the ancients and how certain ancient structures, when lined up, create certain shapes. Things are pointed at each other. Things may be built in relation to maybe the stars or the planets. It's some fascinating work that I think relates to a lot of other areas, which I think we're going to get into here. I first saw Shahrokh in Las Vegas in October of 2024. It was just a fascinating presentation about the relationship of different geometric locations and maybe incidences in the more modern times that have happened on those locations and what that means. It's a fascinating study. So please welcome to the show, Shahrokh Zadeh. Shahrokh, thank you for your time.
I want to say hello to you and to your audience. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. I love learning about new research and what it takes, finding out about the lives of the individuals that it takes to sacrifice to learn about this kind of stuff. And so I was really moved when I saw your lecture in Las Vegas, and I knew I had to learn more. Your two books, The Sha'Z Square, Ancient Mysteries Decoded, we're going to talk about that a little bit, and the follow-up to that, The Shah's Mystics Lines and Areas. And it's so fascinating, the relationships that you make based on your theories, and you've kind of summed all this up into the word mysteryology. So to start us off, briefly explain to us what mysteryology is, and then also give us a little preview about your upcoming lecture this April, April 4th through 6th. And let me see if I can screen share that with you right here. April 4th through 6th at the Alien event in Los Angeles at the LAX Sonesta. Oh, I can't seem to screen share here for some reason. Let me see here. Event settings, boom, boom, boom. No. Huh. It's not giving it to me right now. Well, I'll see if I can pull up that poster by the end of the show, but you're going to be
Okay.
speaking alongside some pretty big names. David Hatcher Childress from Ancient Aliens fame, Adventures in Limiting Publishing. That guy's a legend in the field. Mike Barra, Brad Olson, of course, the legend Carrie Cassidy, and now Paul Hynek, the son of the late, great Alan J. Hynek,
Mm,
who's a legend in the field. So you're right up there on the bill with the top of these guys. And I got to tell you, I've been around for a while and I've seen your work, and you are deserving to be up in there. So tell us
thank
about
you.
Mysteryology and give us a preview of your lecture coming up in April.
Well, yes, I'm very thrilled to be among those legendary people, actually, for that event. Um yes, mysteryology was something that I came up with recently because since I was a child, I was fascinated by these stories of these incidents and these mysterious events. And from another side, I was fascinated by the geometry that our nature actually provides. So it's very interesting. Eventually, I found a method that I could combine them together and use an interdisciplinary method to reveal some of these patterns that is hidden in front of our eyes. So I just named it mysteryology because nobody was using that term to make it different than other disciplines that is popular.
Okay.
Another thing is that unlike the other terminologies like ufology or archaeology, that they only focus in one actually thing or just the UFOs, or recently they call it UAP, or they just work on these ancient sites. Mysteryology puts everything together and combines them all.
Okay. Fascinating. Going through your work, I got to admit, it's a wide array of things that your work appears to apply to. We're going to get into that a little bit. Okay, so give us a quick preview of your upcoming lecture, April 4th through 6th at the LAX Sonesta at the Alien Event.
Yes, that
www.alienevent.com for those who are interested.
yeah, you can check everything on this website, alienevent.com. And the event is in California, is in Los Angeles, and it's near the airport, LAX airport. And it's in April 4th, 5th, and 6th, 3 days. I believe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I'm going to be there. Probably I'm going to have two speeches. The first one is about the two books that I already published. And although they seem that they are not related to each other, so the first book that I have is Sha'Z Square, which I should have it here. Okay, this book is it touches about the ancient sites in the Middle East and in the Mesopotamia area, which is between Iraq and Iran today. So I found a lot of fascinating information there. So it came up with a squarish area, a big squarish area that they're apart from each other on land, and but they have relationships, geometric relationships with other notable sites nearby, which are like, for example, the Giza pyramids and the Sphinx in Egypt, and the Mecca, the city of Mecca, which is the Kaaba, that black holy like the structure, right. Cubic structure in Saudi Arabia, which is worshipped by Muslims now. And so these two places are related to Sha'Z Square. Okay, and the second book that I have is Sha'Z Mystic Lines and Areas, which via this mysteryology, I came up with some ley lines or some connections mathematically, I mean geometrically mostly, right, between some mysterious places and mysterious incidents, and also some natural landscapings in the United States. So these two areas are far away from each other. So I want to talk about them. And then I'm going to talk about the relationships with each other. So how these two places are connected.
Okay.
That's my first speech. And my second speech is going to talk about something different.
All right. Can you at least give us a title? Give us a teaser.
Yes. So one of the mysteries that we have is I think the toughest mystery that we have recently escalated is the UAP, unidentified anonymous phenomenon, right? Which was formerly known as UFO and including USOs. Now they found out that these objects are not only in the water or in the sky, they're also in space, and they also land on ground. So these are, they call it UAP these days. It's been recently coined. So I'm going to talk about that. And one of the famous actually incidents in that field is the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident, I believe in 1980. And if I'm not wrong, it's December 28th, 26th. There's a couple days that the incident happened. And it's not happening in the United States. It happened in United Kingdom in those days. So I'm going to touch on that and found some relationships between the UFOs and the nature and this incident for the first time.
Excellent. Can't wait to see it. Okay, so you are of Iranian descent, is that correct?
Yes.
And you got to the United States in 2009, somewhere in there?
Yes.
Why did you come over to the United States in the first place? What was the motive there?
Well, interestingly, the first motivation is family, right? Family first. My whole family were here, and I was the only member left behind in my country. So I was a stranger in my country. So that's the first motivation. The other one is the freedom of speech and freedom of religion and other stuff that pulled me to this country versus other countries.
And how long have you been speaking English?
So this is strange because when I was a kid, I had a chance to live in Hong Kong and go to a British school over there for a few years. And that's where I introduced to English, and I was learning English there. But then that was my elementary school area, and I forgot about it when I went back to Iran until I was like 40 years old when I came to America, and I started to picking it up again, talking English and speaking English, which was hard. There's a lot of barriers there.
But you're doing great. I think you speak pretty fluent English.
Thank you.
And I know some people born here that don't speak as well as you do. So if that makes you feel any better. Okay, so let's talk about the first book for a minute. The Sha'Z Square. From what I learned, there's 4 different structures, temples, that their staircases point at each other and form a square. And what's the significance of that?
Yeah, that's very strange because we have a bunch of actually temples over there called ziggurats. Okay, they have different purposes and mostly for worshiping. Okay, so this just forgot to turn off my cell phone.
That happens.
Okay, yes. So that was for worshiping and other purposes. Okay, so they're aligned between Iran and Iraq. Okay, one of them is the ziggurat of Dur, which is the base of that temple is squarish, and the other one is a ziggurat of Ur, and then the biggest one I think is one of the important ones is the ziggurat of Chogazanbil in Iran. Interestingly, all three of these ones have the base which is like rectangular or square. Okay. So while just researching, I found out that the ziggurat of Dur, which is a little bit higher, top left, it has a stairs in front of it. I just followed the lines. And when I continued the line, it reached the ziggurat of Ur, which is down. And it was very interesting to me that, hey, these stairs have reached to that area, to that ziggurat. And surprisingly, ziggurat of Ur also had another stairs in another direction. So I thought that if I follow the direction of the stairs in front of it, I might come up with another location. And I was right. It reached to ziggurat of Chogazanbil. And Chogazanbil is in Iran. So I connected these three dots and I noticed it's almost a right triangle. So a right triangle has a center, has an angle of 90 degrees, right? And the other two angles are about 45 degrees, which was almost accurate. And the distances were the same. Okay. So I thought that because the distances are the same and the base of each one of these structures are square, maybe this is not a triangle. This is half of a square. So I have to look for the fourth corner. And interestingly, the fourth corner was another actually historical site there. And it's in Iran again. It's called the Taqabustan, and it's a curving site on mountain. So it's a big cliff, a big curving site, and it's been ordered by the king of Iran, Persia in that time. But you know, they don't just order to build something in a specific location. There should be a reason there. So I tried to look for a reason. So I found some reasons, which is noted in my book.
Okay.
Okay, that's what the first ones. So the angles and the distances present almost a perfect square, but tilted a little bit. Okay. So it's not straight like the pyramids of Giza that they're aligned with north, south, east, west. Okay. These are a little bit angled. Okay. Okay. So it was one of the questions why they are angled if they are building these structures. And each one of these ziggurats are also tilted. So because the most northern one is ordered by the king of Iran to build, I thought that that might be the center of something. That might be an important site. So I looked around I expanded the area of my research to other countries, including Egypt and Saudi Arabia. And to my surprise, I found the distance between the Taqabustan in the top to the pyramids of Giza, the three pyramids of Giza, is the same as the distance of that to Mecca, the Kaaba, with very few miles difference. Okay, so that escalated my curiosity to what's going on. So I created this triangle. I just wrote this triangle down on the map, and I tried to look at the shape of the Kaaba because that's also square. Interestingly, when you look from the top of the Kaaba, the ceiling of the Kaaba, it's not aligned north, south, east, west also. So it has a little bit angle, right? And the angle is the same as the angle of Sha'Z Square. Is that coincidence? I don't know. So Then I looked at other temples and other notable places, and I found some amazing relationships between them due to their angle and distances and due to their latitude. It's all actually shown with the details in my book, and you're more than welcome to take a look at it anytime.
Okay.
So then I expanded more. I found a lot of relationships with the other notable ancient and modern structures, much more newer and recent actually structures in the world, including the coral ruins in Southern America. Okay.
Okay.
There are a lot of, it's very old. I think several thousand years old. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 6,000 years old. It's older than the Egyptian pyramids. And there's nothing much left about it, just a ruin. But the base of those pyramids are still there. Okay. To my surprise, I noticed that, let's come back to Egypt first. The diameters of the Egyptian pyramids, all three of them, if you continue the diameters, it goes around the world, right? And if I draw the diameters of these coral ruins, they also go around the world. The intersection is Mecca, which is Kaaba. Approximately there, I used this tool, Google Earth, to do the measurements, and it showed me that their intersection is exactly there. Very, very fascinating. Okay. Then I started looking at other places and other monuments, and I found many places, many monuments that they are doing it, and structures that they're building it recently are also tilted almost the same angle. For example, in New York, we have a big, gigantic structure called the Statue of Liberty, right? If you look at it from the top, the base is a square. It looks like Sha'Z Square. And if you go to Paris, for example, the Museum of Louvre, which is a classic, actually, pyramid shape, if you look at it from the top, it also is the same. So I am not sure if we are accidentally creating these kind of structures with these kind of angles, or there is a hidden relationship between them that I am not aware of right now.
Okay. Absolutely fascinating. Let's go back to the Sha'Z Square, though, because that seems to be where this all emanates from. Because I right before you said the Kaaba seems to be kind of like it, the way you describe it, it's like a center point of the earth, and things are kind of radiate out from that, or designed maybe off of that. But I was going to say that about the Sha'Z Square. So what's the significance of making those four structures in the shape of a square? Is there a ritual significance? Is it astronomical? What do you think?
Very interesting question. I looked at astronomical, actually, I can say insights. Try to see if I can find some relationships. There are some minimal relationships in between, minor ones, like, for example, the sunrise or the sunset, but they're not very accurate. Except the only thing that is that the three pyramids of Giza are aligned with the stars, right? With the Orion belt. But they are talking about these things, but they're not very actually scientifically and measurably very accurate and precise. So I looked further into it. I thought maybe there's something else. So I looked at the gravitational force of Earth. I looked at the other things like the electromagnetic field of the Earth, and I tried to come up with some relationships in between. And to surprise you, yes, I came up with some interesting information that is going to be revealed very soon in my future books.
Okay, can you give us a hint? Come on, give us a little bit of a hint. Give us one of several. Just
one important thing is that take a look at these their latitudes with the equator.
Okay.
So what mysteryology suggests is that we have some notable places on Earth that are created by nature, besides the mountain tips and besides the valleys in the ocean, like all the deepest part of the ocean in Pacific Ocean and in Atlantic Ocean. There are also some other notable places, like the North Pole. That is very significant. Also, this equator is significant. and it's related to the mathematical alignments of the planets and the orbits. Okay, so when I looked at them, I found some interesting things to note. Okay, if you are very interested, I want to bring something that to your audience that they're listening to this video now. Okay. That has never been revealed, but I just recently came up with that after the discovery in Mars. So in Mars, this is what happened. In Mars, they were taking pictures, right? The satellite is rotating around Mars and it's taking a picture. And one of the craters, it takes a picture. And after analyzing the picture, they found a squarish, very interesting squarish structure over there that right. It looks like it's man-made. It's called the square shape, I don't know, anomaly or something on the surface of Mars. And it's recent. So when you look at that shape, the two things came up to my mind. Number one, the shape. Number two, the coordinates, okay, and the distance from the latitude. I know Mars is smaller than Earth, so but the latitudes are, you know, with the same issue can align. So remember I talked about that's on Mars. So I looked at the coordinates, and the center of that square is about 27 or 28 degrees north. Now, and the shape is not straight, perfect square. It's a little bit tilted. By comparing the shape with the Sha'Z Square, I found out that the shapes are exactly identical. Very, very similar. Even the angles. Okay? But the size are different. The one in Mars has the length of about 3 kilometers each side. But here we have a way, way larger actually distance. That's one point. The other point is the coordinates. So remember that I said that if you connect Kaaba to the Egyptian pyramid and to the northern part of Sha'Z Square, it creates a triangle. And it's an isoscale triangle because the distances of two sides of the triangle are identical. It has a center. That center, the coordinate of that center, the latitude is the same, almost.
Okay.
So that wonders me if that structure or that formation, I can tell, on Mars, is it man-made or not?
Right.
When I say man, or is it by an entity, intelligent entity, whatever you want to name it, ET or extraterrestrial, or I don't know. It might be from our past.
Sure. You know, so this is why I find your work so fascinating, because you're bringing up stuff. So Graham Hancock wrote the famous book, The Mars Mystery, which I would definitely recommend if you haven't read that yet. Talks about some of the things you're just talking about. The D&M pyramid has a square base, of course. And if I remember correctly, some of the pictures that NASA took that Mark Carlotto brought out to the public for the first time shows a square structure there amidst the city that Graham Hancock thinks is pointed out. There's circular mounds, there's pyramids, a 5-sided pyramid. I think that's the D&M pyramid. And then also too, someone you might want to check out is Richard Hoagland, because he talks about hyperdimensional physics and how it has to do with sacred geometry and how spheres and squares or tetrahedrons will fit inside of a sphere.
Interesting.
And so it's where those, if you place those objects, those shapes inside the sphere of a planet, where their corners touch are sites of ancient structures. So
see, very interestingly, it's the same thing that I was talking about, the latitude with the
that's right,
with the equator. So the latitude with the equator is something that our ancestors came up with, the equator, and they came up with these latitudes, but they had their own probably measurements, okay? And they found some specific numbers that's where they went and built the structures there. I thought it might be aligned with the stars, but they weren't, okay? I couldn't find anything. I'm not saying there weren't, absolutely. Let me correct myself. Let me go back. I could not find any relationships between
Right.
them so far. I'm still looking. What is interesting is that our ancestors came up with the coordinates very, very accurate. I don't know how. And they, for example, the Sha'Z Square, these ziggurats are miles away from it, hundreds of miles away from one side, and they've been built in different era, different year,
Right.
that they're like hundreds of years apart from each other. So hundreds of miles away, hundreds of years apart, it doesn't make sense. They should have had a specific knowledge or concern about the nature that we are still trying to find out. Okay, and that's one side. Uh, and then I see the reflection of these coordinates in other planets as well. Let me bring you two more things that I'm publishing in my book. I put it in
Okay.
my book, but I'm just gonna bring it out. That I haven't seen anybody looked at it before. I'm gonna bring only one of them. This one is this distribution of land and water, which you were talking about.
Okay.
So the land on Earth is about 70%. Uh, it's about 30%, while the ocean is about 70% of the surface of the Earth, right?
Roughly, sure.
Roughly. And it depends on the season and the tide and all the stuff. It
That's right.
depends. But anyways, but pay attention to this. These numbers are very interesting. Like, for example, in our body, we also have like about 70% and 30% water and minerals, right?
Interesting. Yes.
So everybody knew about that. This is not new. What is new is that the amount of the land surface on Earth, the area, is the same as the whole Mars, the surface of the whole Mars. Isn't that fascinating?
Like
So do you think that the size of Mars was just randomly created, or there's a relationship between?
like the
Again,
Earth is a harmonic of Mars somehow.
so this escalates my curiosity that there are a lot of numbers involved. Another thing, each one of these planets that we have, they have a diameter, almost sphere, almost a globe shape, right? And they have a diameter. If you add the diameters, they fit approximately inside the distance between Earth and Moon. So the distance from Earth to Moon is not just random.
Right.
There is a logic behind it. There's a mathematical logic that we are trying to find out. Another thing is that everybody knows approximately is that when you look at the eclipse, the diameter of the moon and the diameter of the sun matches. How does that happen?
Right.
The reason is that the diameter of the sun is approximately 400 times the diameter of the moon. Also, the distance from the sun to Earth is also approximately 400 times the distance of moon to
Right.
Earth. So these numbers uh, are now, uh, are now popping up that, hey, we have to pay attention to these numbers and this geometry more than what we knew before.
Right.
That's what I'm telling you, that our science is behind from our nature.
This reminds me of Pythagoras' Music of the Spheres, where he's describing the solar system, at least, and probably the universe, as a musical, attuned musical instrument.
Yep.
And I've also heard it referred to as a clock, where we're mechanical parts, the Earth spinning, the moon spinning around it, the solar system spinning around the galactic center in a 26,000 year cycle, roughly, that it's all part of a giant clock. And just not that that really is relevant to the everyday working person, but it's fascinating to me when I think about that. And
And it's not new. They found this device, I forgot the name of it, that is a mechanical device. They found it in a ship under the ocean,
oh, the
sinking.
Antikythera mechanism.
Yes. So
Yes,
that's also a clock, but the handles are these planets.
right.
It's
I've
very,
studied the
very fascinating.
Antikythera. Yeah, the Antikythera mechanism. That is a fascinating thing. And personally, when you see the cyclopean structures around the world, when you talk about Antikythera mechanism and other devices that have been found, missile silos in Lebanon. The ancient life on Earth was more advanced than us at some point, and we're only now building back. Um, so let me ask you this, a little bit of a philosophical question. Why do you think that we humans are in this position now, having to uncover the mathematics as you're describing from your perspective, and starting to learn about ourselves and the Earth and Earth history? Why are we in this position? It's almost like we have an amnesia or something. How do you
Uh,
think we got here? Is it by accident or by design? What do you think?
there's a two big different questions. How we got here is different than what are we doing now. How
Well,
we got here, there are a lot of theories, right? But I always listen and read these theories and I pay attention. And I think everybody should do that because this is how we are. We put the pieces of the puzzles together. We like to do that since we were a child. Uh, the thing is that, but to answer your philosophy question, that why we try to understand the puzzles, understand the mysteries, is because we want to become better. When we and it looks like you are climbing a mountain as a actually a symbol thing, as a hypothetical saying, okay, as a metaphor, that if you're trying to climb a mountain, you have some obstacles in front of you, okay? You can get stuck or you can overcome with the obstacle and pass that, okay? And you only have few tools. We are almost nothing in the universe, but we have a few tools. One of them is mathematics. The other one is, for example, psychology, other disciplines that we have, okay? But mathematics, physics, and chemistry are, I think, these are the main ones that we have. These are the main tools that we have. And if I want to go up, I think mathematics and physics are dominant than the chemistry. Not to devalue that, but I'm just saying that even chemistry is actually dragged from the physics, I think. Anyways, but without mathematics, physics is nothing. And without physics, mathematics doesn't make sense. Okay, so we have to combine them together. So the majority of my research is to look through these tools that I have, mathematics. And so human, philosophically talking, they always are trying to solve their obstacles in their life by using mathematics and by using physics, try to overcome, to understand what is happening, what happened before, and will that continue to come back again in the future? So when we discover the reason and when we understand an obstacle, that helps us the next time we confront with a similar obstacle, how to solve it and overcome with that issue.
okay.
So we always are looking to become better and better and better until at one point we are in the top.
So if I understand you correctly, it sounds like maybe God set the situation up to help us, or whoever our creators are, to help us to learn and grow on our own, like giving minerals to a plant, so the plant in the soil, so the
Very,
plant can grow.
yes, very good question. I always think about this. Uh, the first question is that does God exist? Yes or no? Then, if it doesn't exist, so done. We're done. There's nothing else to talk about. But if God exists, then a lot of questions pop up. Why did He created us? Why? A lot of whys, right? And how come? How come He did this, but He didn't do that? How come He didn't do that, but He did this? A lot of questions comes up, and then it comes religious. We have all this kind of religious. Abraham, uh, Moses. We have all these prophets, right?
Right.
Uh, okay, so a lot of things come up. What I want to say is that, let me bring it this way. Uh, this is a very important question. Is God monitoring us and influencing our life? So if it's not influencing, there's nothing. He just created something and he just turned around and does his stuff. It is what it is, and we are just living ourselves, right? It doesn't matter what we think. So if that perspective is correct, if that thought is correct, it looks like the manufacturing companies, for example, our car companies. If you have a Toyota, for example, do you think that the owner or the creator of the Toyota car is monitoring you constantly or not? The creator of the car just created a system, and a system is working so good, and he doesn't follow us every minute to see what are we doing with that. Are we driving good or not? So he just created, and he turned around, and I don't know even if he is alive or not. Okay. But the manufacturer company, the Toyota company, continues creating the cars. Okay. And each year we have a newer version of it. And me as a driver, I sit in the car. I'm the soul of that body. I sit in the car and I start driving it the way I like. And I don't know if the owner is watching me or not watching me, but I do my best. I try to follow the traffic laws, follow the signs, and just safely reach myself to the destination, right?
Right.
So, but what if the owner, I mean, the creator of the car is monitoring me with a tracking device or something? Okay, so this question is that, is the God constantly communicating with me, has influenced me, is something? From the other side, if it's not, that's something else. Because I'm not very actually religious person, I'm not paying attention. I'm not paying attention. I understand this. I believe in a creator. That's who I am, and I believe that there's a purpose here. But my focus is more into the humanity and delivering the message of what they want me to do. Just reaching to the destination safe and sound, and taking my passengers with me.
Okay. I like that analogy. Interesting. Okay.
Just,
I
I
can't
don't know
wait.
if it makes sense or not, but that's
I like it. I like it. You're the soul inside the car steering that body around, as our soul is in our body
yes,
navigating around, right? Okay, I like that. Okay. So we got about a minute left for this segment. You're going to join us for a second segment, yes?
yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Your work seemed to start in the Middle East. The Middle East is the center of a lot of controversy and activity, some interesting history for sure. A lot of religious history comes out of there. Why do you think the Middle East is so important? Is it just give a brief answer so we don't run out of time?
Yes, I think that it's not the center of the universe, but I found a geometric actually relation between that area and the continents, for example. So that was I presented in my previous actually speech also that if you put a center of the earth in Saudi Arabia somewhere, okay, I just put it in that time. I just put it in Mecca because it looks like it was interesting. Then I found out that if you, instead of using this regular rectangular map or the global map, if you use another map, which is called the azimuthal map, that is, you can put it in the center someplace. And if you center that on an area near Kaaba, okay, and if you look at the map, you will see that all the continents are aligned very nicely in segments around that area. In a way that if you pick, for example, Australia as a continent, and you mirror Australia as a land continent via that center and go to the other side, it fits exactly in the Gulf of Mexico, which is between the northern continent of America and the southern continent of America.
Okay.
It
We're
looks like
running
a
out of
pizza
time, but
puzzle.
basically what you're saying, there's a symmetry going on.
It looks like it's a centric symmetry going on over there. And that's how I came up with this hypothesis that there should be another continent.
All right. Well, we're gonna be right back with more interesting Shahrokh Zadeh and fascinating stuff. Thank you, Shahrokh. We'll see you momentarily for part 2.
Of course. Thank you.
All right.